All right, guys. So Yair Rodriguez got cut. And what had happened, Yair was like 15-0. I'm going back a little bit. He's like 15-0, won the Ultimate Fighter. It was this major emerging star, particularly a Mexican star, right as the UFC was, really starting to sink their hooks and market into Mexico. So, I mean, the guy really just had everything. Youth, I want to say he was 25 years old, his perfect record, Ultimate Fighter winner. Then he had talent. I mean, this guy, he was crazy. Watching him fight, he was so wild. I've really never seen anybody like him that had the output. And it was like something out of a video game. I mean, he was hitting video game moves out there that I've never seen in my MMA career. I've only seen in video game. I mean, the guy was awesome, right? So he's getting groomed for a championship, which looked like exactly where he was headed. He runs into Frankie Edgar. And it just didn't go his way. Frankie was ready, he was hungry, Frankie fought great, Yair fought great, Frankie whipped his ass. At the end, I think Frankie stopped him. I think it ended up as a TKO. So, Frankie's fought a couple of times since then. Yair has not. Yair gets released from the UFC, and then we get hit with the backstory that, he was offered some fights and he didn't take them. So what do you do with a guy that won't fight? You got a fighter that won't fight. Okay, well, you can't work here. And I don't take any kind of pleasure in this. I mean, a young man that works hard, did a lot of things right, seemed like a perfectly nice guy. I've never met him, seemed like a perfectly nice guy, lost his job. I don't take any kind of pleasure in that. But I did read a post on something the kids call the Underground Forum. And they were saying how that was wrong of Dana White to release him for not wanting to do fights. Well, you're devastatingly wrong about that point. Dana has to do that. He has to make sure, maintaining the integrity of his company, the guys are fighting the right guys. And I want to explain to you how this works, because I don't think that anybody ever has. Now, this is a UFC policy. This is not a law of any kind, but this is a policy, and this is explained to all of the guys on the roster from the beginning. You will be called and offered a fight. You can say no to the first fight, but you cannot say no to the second fight. So you play that however you want. You can say no once, you can't say no twice. That's a policy that's been in place. Joe Silva put that in place. I don't even know how long ago. A decade would be a fair guess by me, if not longer. Now you can see where that can move around a little bit, right? Let's say you guys are fighters. You're offered me. You say, no, I don't want to fight Chael. So now you come in, your second opponent isn't an offer. That's who you are fighting. Or you're eligible for release. Even though we haven't seen it before, you're now eligible for release. So guys accept that, okay, great. I took the risk. This is who I'm fighting. Well, now that guy may turn you down. And if he hadn't turned somebody down yet, he gets one turn down himself. You see where this becomes a problem. So you see why it's very important that Joe Silva and the UFC did put a policy in place. At some point, the card has to be set. At some point, the PR has to begin, the posters have to go out, and fans have to be able to buy tickets for something that they have a reasonable expectation they're going to get to see. So you set up this policy, make sure everybody understands it, and you move forward. In Yair's case, when he turned two guys down, well, yeah, of course you release him. There's nothing else you can do. So not the boxing model. It's not the boxing model where guys get protected or guys get to pick their own fights or guys get to only take fights that they think they can win. Nah, it doesn't work like that. The contenders and the ranked guys have to fight the other contenders and the other ranked guys, whoever they are, as long as they're in the same weight class. That's it. So when he's saying no, he became eligible for that. I'm sure there is a little bit of a backstory. I'm sure, guessing, that this has been a problem that's going on in the back, and somebody has to publicly be the guy that actually gets his termination papers to let everybody else know, hey, that policy about you get to turn one guy down is in place, and it's going to be followed. So, and I like to explain this to you. So even once those fights then get set, you now have to take it to a commission. The commission may say no. That's very rare, but there's definitely a precedence. You see that quite often, more often than you guys think, where a commission will go, no, we don't like it. We don't like the record. We don't like that this guy's coming off a knockout versus this guy's record, or the fact that this guy's knocking people out. Commissions enter it. So there's a lot of things that happen before a fight can officially get made, and bout agreements can go out, and the whole thing can get sanctioned. Things that I don't think you guys understand. And I'm purely speaking to the narrative where people are saying, hey, Dana didn't handle that right. He can't force these guys. Nah, you guys got to rethink that. You're wrong on that. He has to handle it this way. He has to make sure that the integrity stays in place, and that he is offering a place for guys to fight, for guys who want to fight. And if you don't, we've got to take that spot away and got to give it to somebody else. It has to be that way. So rethink your position on that. Very sorry this happened to your ear, but it does have to be this way.